Hi everyone, welcome to another episode on the Cerebral Cricketer podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest on the show. We have Brad Evans, who is a fast bowling all-rounder from Zimbabwe. So Brad, many of you know him from that famous win against Pakistan at the T20 World Cup, his five against India in Harare, and his recent test five against Afghanistan. So Brad, welcome to the Cerebral Cricketer.
Always, thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. So the show it's all about getting understanding of the deeper layers to a cricketer, and obviously a lot of it is informed by their childhood and their relationship to cricket growing up. So what was your childhood like in relation to cricket?
Yeah, pretty simple answer. It's one I give all the time when people ask that sort of question, is that I was I guess lucky enough to be immersed in cricket sort of throughout my childhood. Obviously, my dad played for Zimbabwe, and all of his friends were cricket friends. So, if we weren't talking cricket, we were playing cricket in the backyard or watching a game. There's many times where I can think back to we call them braais here, but like a barbecue at dad's friend's house, and it was revolved around watching a game of cricket or sometimes rugby union, but mainly one of those two sports. And it would be talking about the game, watching it, playing it. So from a very early age, it was always sports, but mainly cricket. So I picked up a hell of a lot in those days and just developed a love for it.
Okay, perfect. So I think in reference to your father as well, he had also played for Zimbabwe. So tell us more about that situation where you're learning from him. Would you have an opportunity to go to the dressing room that he was a part of when he was playing and be immersed in that environment?
He finished playing when I was 6, so I was quite young to sort of remember. Do you remember any of the physical sort of interactions in like you asked, like the changing rooms or running around on the field? Maybe in his later days when he sort of retired from professional cricket, was playing I don't know, village cricket, I suppose. A few of my friends my age would run around the field there and play cricket and watch him, and he always used to hit the most sixes, and there'd be an award. And for the sort of tournament they'd play. He'd only played it once a year. So I used to just watch him and really enjoy the way he played it, and see that even though he'd been retired, he was still sort of that upper echelon of being a good cricketer and could still compete against younger people, or even though he'd been out the game a long time. So I learned a lot just by watching and doing. Sort of experimenting myself and asking questions time to time. We were lucky enough to have a cricket net in the backyard, so he'd often throw me balls and we'd practice together.
So when you would practice together, when it comes to the technical aspect of the game or the mental side of the game, what sort of lessons did he impart on you that left an imprint?
I don't know. I think I'm still learning those parts of the game today. He was always quite hard on me, just sort of making sure that I was, just didn't give my wicket away if I was batting or when I was bowling, just trying to be patient. I guess he tried to drill in the important things about cricket, especially longer format, sort of being patient and holding value on your wicket. And when you're bowling, just stick to the basics. Don't change it if it's not broken yet. And I think only recently those sort of things I understood them, but they've really, really hit home now. And I'm sort of stripping my game back down to the basics at the moment, and I feel like it's helping me a lot.
So when it comes to bowling back then, in terms of simplicity and trying to keep it as simple as possible, was it about hitting the top of off? Was it about putting pressure on the batsman? Was it just about being consistent? What exactly was it that he was telling you to keep doing?
Yeah, it's funny. I wasn't really a bowler until I was about 16. So he used to coach me more with the batting side of things. And he was a batting all-rounder, whereas I'm sort of a bowling all-rounder. And his bowling wasn't as sort of in-depth as his batting coaching was. But yeah, I mean, when I got to 16, I sort of started sliding down the batting order and realizing I need to sort of add a string to my bow, and started bowling, and used to bowl leg spin and then off spin, and then tried keeping wicket, and then eventually ended up bowling fast. And I grew quite quickly at that age, so I sort of was quite physically above everybody else, or ahead of everybody else, and I could bowl quite quickly for my age group. And that was something that he always encouraged me to do, is to, always bowl the ball as hard as you can, hit the wicket. Don't just bowl, place the ball. You got to bowl it into the wicket. So it would be, try to be patient by just being accurate, hitting the top of off, but also bowl the ball. Because if you're going to get it wrong, rather get it wrong having bowled the ball quickly, rather than just placing it there and the batsman's got more time to whack it where he wants.
That's interesting. You said, so you were saying you were 16 years old when you took up fast bowling properly. That might seem a bit late for many players. So at the time when you did stick to fast bowling, did you feel like you had injuries as a result of taking it up a bit later, or it just kind of adapted naturally because you're a bigger guy as opposed to when you were younger?
Yeah, in all honesty, going through the age groups, and when I started, I found bowling really easy, and just I can just hit the top of off. It's not really that difficult. And I always felt like I could do that, and then I'd always work harder on my batting to try and make more valuable contributions there. But yeah, I guess with bowling, bowling fast comes with the risks of getting injuries, and I've gone through quite a bad phase, but I feel like I've come out the other side of it, and I sort of take the care off the field and the time off the field to sort of get my body in the right place to be. And I take warm-ups extra seriously now, and I go through them. They're more vigorous, and cool downs and recovery protocols, getting in the ice bath and massages and all that. So I do what I can to avoid getting injured again. And I understand my body a lot better now than I did 2 or 3 years ago, or even longer.
So when it comes to specifically bowling, you were echoing the idea of trying to bowl it fast and trying to hit the deck. So were there anything in particular when it comes from biomechanics perspective from a younger age that you're working on to allow you to bowl as fast as possible?
Yeah, I mean, if I ever do get the chance to coach a kid that can bowl decently fast or wants to bowl faster, the things for me that are sort of our focus points for me is pulling the front arm down, so left arm for a right arm or a right arm for a left armer, and then the sort of dragging trail leg to pull that through. And I always try to show them a video of Jofra bowling in slow motion from side on, that his right leg after he bowls the ball almost hits himself in the chin, because he harnesses all that energy. So it's sort of like a pull with the left side of your body and then a push with your right hand side of the body. So just you get over your front leg. So yeah, it's just trying to use what you've got. You've got your 4 limbs, so it's pulling down with the left arm and then pushing through with the right leg. And I feel like for me, those are my focus points. And I don't try bowl fast, like using every sinew in my body. I'd like a rhythm, and I like get into the crease and feeling quite light and then snapping. And I always try and bowl the ball. I feel like I try and delay my action as late as possible, and that gives me a couple of extra Ks an hour. And then, like I said, left arm down and right leg through, and then just feeling a rhythm on the day. Yeah, I mean, I don't try and strangle the ball. I try and just be fluent through the crease.
You're mentioning about delaying your action. Would you be able to expand on that a bit more? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, I worked with John Lewis in England when I was at school in the UK, and I was doing some work down at Sussex. And he was like, if you want to bowl fast, let the ball go later. So by what that means is like, let everything sort of naturally unfold. So sort of get to the crease and then like just sort of get through your action. And then at the last minute, you want to like snap like a whip does. Whereas you can get caught up with like sort of being really tense and just trying to force the ball down without sort of showing you and being able to demonstrate it. That's as sort of best as I could describe it. But it's like a feeling of just, delaying it as long as possible and then snapping at the last possible second. That's what I'd say.
Okay, fair enough. And on top of that, from a mental side as well, when it comes to, aside from the biomechanics angle, what do you feel like was the most impactful advice you got? And doesn't have to just be from your dad, but any other coach that you've worked with from a younger age.
On bowling in particular?
Yeah, bowling or even batting as well.
I think things that align with enhancing belief in somebody. So I'd like to think that coaches won't lie to players and tell them that they're better than they are. So when someone sort of tells you that you're good enough, I think listening to that and believing that goes a long way, because you stop searching in sort of for ways on how to look like Virat Kohli when he hits the cover drive, or how Brett Lee bowls. You start just doing the game your own way, because you worked out that your way is good enough and you need to be you. So I'd say any coach or anyone that's come with that sort of advice, like just believe in yourself that you are good enough, and just be yourself when you play. Don't try to be anyone else.
And when it comes to batting in particular as well, you said something interesting that your dad was known to be a big six hitter, and for yourself, you were a batsman when you were younger as well. So I know in this day of T20 cricket, which you've played a lot of, was sort of emphasized to hit big and all that kind of stuff. So what sort of advice would you give, or what do you feel is being authentically yourself when it comes to batting? Because sometimes it's just difficult to hit out from ball one. Do you feel like you just sort of trust your game to be a bit more rhythmic, a bit more like, I guess, center around your defense, for example, that will allow you to hit? Or you just think about, for example, putting pressure on the bowler? And obviously I'm sure that you being a bowler yourself allows you to give those insights to help you, to allow you to bat better. So what sort of approach do you have when it comes to your batting in particular from a mindset perspective?
Yeah, look, I don't know if I'm in the best position currently to be giving that sort of information, just because I'm sort of looking for it myself. I sort of look at my batting numbers and I think I've seriously under sort of performed for the ability I've got. So it's something I always want to practice my batting, and I'm always speaking to people and trying to get advice. But I guess for me, it's sort of, I want to play the ball on merit and give myself a chance. So I'm quite fortunate in that I have the ability to clear the boundary and strike the ball quite cleanly. So if I get time to bat, then I can afford to knock it around and face a few balls before I start going. And ideally you want to reach that sort of flow state where you just sort of seeing the ball and playing the ball where it needs to go. So I find it quite tough. What I'm finding quite tough at the moment is, batting where I'm batting 8, 9 and coming in when there's 6 balls to go or 8 balls to go. And obviously your team would like you to hit a 6 every ball, but obviously that's not really difficult. So I'm finding that quite difficult, but it's something I'm really working hard on, is because I know that's my role at the moment, or that's what I'm going to be faced with. So I'm trying to see how I can best perform in that situation. And yeah, I mean, stripping it down to, looking at the field, understanding it from a bowler's perspective, and seeing okay what is likely to come down, and then sort of going right. These are my areas to target, and then just trying to see the ball hit the ball, but play the ball where it's meant to go. Try and get as much information from the delivery as possible, i.e., play it late. So see it late, play it late. So those are the sort of things going through my head at the moment. But I'm looking to make some more contributions, and when I start doing that, then maybe I'll have a better answer for you.
In regards to even when you were a child, who were you inspired by? It could be a batsman or bowler, like growing up, that you were watching on the telly or on TV, that wanted you to, helped inspire you to be the player you are today.
Yeah, I liked a lot of cricketers. I liked Michael Clarke. I liked Sachin. I really did like Sachin. Bowlers, Brett Lee, obviously. I loved Shane Warne. I loved Adam Gilchrist. KP, Andrew Flintoff. I'd say actually my favourite cricketer is probably Freddie Flintoff or Brendan McCullum. Those two are probably my two favourite cricketers.
A bit of a mix of different nationalities there, and a lot of Australian players as well. I wonder, because obviously from your neck of the woods, not many people will always be picking the Australian players because I don't know if they were seen as enemies or anything like that. So what made you sort of look up to players from a different part of the world?
I guess just growing up, I wasn't really too fussed with who I supported. Obviously, being Zimbabwe, and we had a team that would compete every now and then with those big sides, but they weren't on the TV as much. So obviously, I watched players that were on TV more, and I guess the likes of KP and Freddie and Sachin and McCullum, and also you look at those guys, they sort of made cricket cool, and they sort of played the game in a way where you wanted to watch. I guess that's probably the common denominator between all of the people I've suggested there. There were people you'd want to watch. They had a bit of flair about them. They were very good. They brought the crowds in. They sometimes had funky hairstyles. So I guess those are the people that I was sort of drawn to.
I think, like the names that you mentioned, I remember someone was saying players, you tend to remember the players who made you feel a certain way when you watch them play, So like Brett Lee, just the pace they would bowl at, especially I'm from Australia, so watching that growing up, it just made you feel something, made you feel like, you can do it in the sense of, he was a genuine guy and all that. And Adam Gilchrist, the same thing. So they had that flair, they had that aggression about them that, it was easy to admire as a young kid as well. And so even for yourself, I know that you did some schooling in England and played for Cardiff as well. So what was that like? Like, were you in Zimbabwe and then went to England as well for some time? What was that like? I'm sure that you moving to another country would have been pretty daunting at that particular age as well.
Yeah, I was 17 when I left and went to school in the UK, and it was a great experience. I gained a lot. I was very fortunate with sort of what I had at my disposal, and looking back on it now, I do look back at it with a little bit of not regret, but I don't think I sort of I don't think I understood how good I had it. Sort of definitely at school, and then when I went to uni, I was very, very fortunate again to go to a really cool university, and get a degree under my belt, and at the same time play some highly competitive cricket, and got on the face of some counties and managed to do okay against them, and sort of got that exposure to proper men's cricket whilst I was still a student. And I guess having done okay at that stage sort of gave me that belief that I could come back to Zim and give international cricket a go, or give it a crack. I mean, who knows where I would have been without that, but I definitely gained a lot of belief from, I can perform against these guys, so there's no reason why I can't go back to Zimbabwe and play domestic cricket there and do well. and fortunately it has. So yeah, it was a great experience all round. Made some good friends, learned a lot. Yeah, it was good.
It seems like there was some self-belief that you gained during your time in England that allowed you to be like, okay, I can make it in the Zimbabwe setup. So, was there a particular moment, or is it a particular player you played against, or is it some trainings you had with certain players that you made you feel like that allowed you to give you that confidence to be able to do well back in Zimbabwe?
I think it was one thing doing pretty decently at that sort of level. My first class debut, I took four for against Gloucester in the first innings. But I mean, it was a cabbage patch of a wicket. So, I'm always quite critical myself. Like, yeah, you took four for, but also the ball was just doing absolute all sorts and you didn't have to work very hard. Um, but then, yeah, I guess it was doing well was one thing, but realizing wasn't even I probably wasn't even at my best today, and I still did well. Knowing that I had more in the tank, going, yeah, okay, I got this. I can do it. Rather than like looking at my performances and going, yeah, that'll be good enough. It was more like performances are good, but I've still got more in the tank, and that sort of pushed me forward.
Yeah, fair enough. And on top of that as well, were you mainly bowling at that point in time, or were you also batting all rounder? Like, what was that situation in the team that you played? Like you were referring to your debut, were you like first change or opening bowler? What was the role for you at that point in time?
Yeah, I think at uni I was pretty much an opening bowler and had slid down the order all the way down to 10 or 11, and wasn't batting very well and lost a whole lot of confidence. Um, but then there was one game against Glamorgan where I think I came in at 10 and I I got 45 not out and I batted with Dan Douthwaite and I got him to his 100, which was a pretty cool thing, and sort of worked out now I can sort of hold my own at this age, at this sort of level. Sort of from there on, it was fine. And before that, it was a bit of bad lack of confidence.
And in that setup as well, how did the trainings look for you at that point in time? Were you just always consistently in the nets every day, or was it also gym work coupled with training? What was that like? Because it does seem like that time in UK was impactful for you and your career.
Yeah, it was full on. I mean, we used to joke um, around. I think one of the boys got a lot of stick for saying that he was an unpaid professional, which basically he was saying that we trained as much as a professional did, but obviously weren't paid to do it because we were at uni. But yeah, I think from memory, it was like in a week you'd have two small group sessions. So like depending on where your free periods were and stuff, you'd have like two or three of you in a group doing a little session with the coach where you'd bat, you'd bowl, do some fielding in the indoor centre. Then you'd have one group training session a week, and that was I think on a Wednesday, where that would be a full net for the whole squad. Everyone would bat, not everyone, but like most people would bat and everyone would bowl and then during the week I think there was three S&C sessions a week, so it would be like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday before uni started, and they were good. They were all compulsory, those sort of things, so it just held people accountable and just got the best out of everyone. So it was a really good setup, and yeah, I look back on it with fond memories.
Yeah, it's amazing. And when you did come back to Zimbabwe, I think you made your debut when you were roughly, is it 25, if I'm not mistaken? 24, 25 years of age. So you would have had another maybe 6 years or so from that time you're in UK till the time of your debut. So I would like to know also like the kind of trajectory within the domestic setup as well, or what you went through in order to give yourself the best opportunity to represent Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I think sort of one of my best seasons was actually my first season, but it was sort of plagued with a bit of COVID. So there weren't that many fixtures, but I was taking wickets or scoring runs for the Eagles, playing for the Eagles. Um, I think we won the Logan Cup or the T20 that year or something. I can't remember what it was. I think it was the T20s. And proceeded to do well the next season. And then I think I got a Zimbabwe call up and went to Nepal and played against Nepal there and did pretty well there. I think it was a couple of months after that that I was, I had made my debut against Namibia and Bulawayo. So I think it was in my third season in Zim. I think by then I admittedly got a bit frustrated. I think I was chomping at the bit. I wanted to play soon. I think everyone does wanted to play soon, and but anyways, it happened then, and sort of haven't really looked back since.
And it's interesting you mentioned COVID as well. I'm sure that for most cricketers around the world, that would have been a tough time. How did you manage and or did you just take a break in that period, or did you find ways to do trainings? Because it can be difficult to not be playing at all for a long period of time or not be able to play properly as well.
Yeah, COVID was frustrating for me, just because it was my last year of uni, and the year before I'd done okay in the sort of first class games and in the season. But I remember saying to myself, I wasn't sort of fit enough in terms of I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't fit enough. And, like the first couple of games, I was cramping up and it took me until half the season to get into the swing of things. So I made such a conscious effort to, you know, just get fitter and stronger in the winter. And we went on a preseason tour to Cape Town in March. Literally, we were in Cape Town when COVID kicked off, but we'd managed to play a couple of games and train. And I look back to that time thinking it was probably the best shape I've ever been in, like fitness wise and bowling wise. I was light but strong and bowling really, really nicely. And then obviously COVID came around. And then just didn't play any cricket. So yeah, in lockdown, got into running. So I started running quite a lot. And then, it was sort of end of uni and then moved back to Zim. And our first season in sort of the first domestic season that I played in, it was in the COVID bubble. So that was pretty tough. I think because it was my first season, I still had that energy to go, I'm not going to let this get in the way of me playing cricket. Whereas there were some other guys in their third or fourth seasons going, I'm not sure this is worth it anymore. But no, we all got through it, and yeah, it was fine. I think, yeah, it was all right.
It's interesting you say at one point in time you felt like really light and strong. So what specific workouts? I know you said you were doing a lot of running as well, but was there specific gym work to also allow you to feel strong as well?
Yeah, it's all to do with the S&C program um, that we had at uni with the MCCU. Yeah, it was quite cleverly thought out. Obviously, the S&C coaches knew what they were doing. I wouldn't be able to rattle it off to you now, but it wasn't your generic bench press, squat, deadlift, bicep curl. It was in more depth than that, and we'd have periodic testing every 2-3 weeks or something like that, where we'd test our rate of force developments and our 20-meter speed gate tests and our yo-yos. And so I just felt like I was a much more rounded sort of athlete at the end of that season, just because I sort of put more impetus on getting more out of it. Whereas my first 2 years, I'd kind of just turned up to the sessions and just got through them rather than sort of working really hard and coming out there with a sweat. So I sort of turned things around for the third year, but obviously didn't play. So yeah, I think one thing I've tried to do with my training recently is sort of whenever I'm in the gym, make it more functional. So again, going away from your generic bench press, squat, deadlift, those sort of things. Doing more, functional movements and things that try and mimic what you do on the field. Because I guess you're training to perform, so you got to sort of understand what you do on the field and then try and replicate that in the gym as best as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I might fast forward to your debut for Zimbabwe, in particular in ODIs against Bangladesh. It seems to be your debut. Walk us through the moment that you did get the call up and how you felt, because you mentioned that when you were in UK, you had that confidence that you can make it. And, I'm sure that at the time of your debut, that's probably one thing you would have reflected on from your past in terms of, feeling like you want to make it and now you're there, it's actually happening. So, yeah, like how did you feel at the time of your call up, and what was the trainings and going into that game, and how did you strategize, as a bowler, going into that game as well?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I definitely got nervous for my T20 debut, but I feel like that got rid of a lot of the nerves. And then any debut after that, it's just like, I've already played for my country. Not in like a light, not trying to sort of shrug it off, but it's just like I didn't get as nervous as I did in my T20 debut because I'd done it already. It's because it's the same thing. You're wearing the same you're in the same kit, and you're wearing the same warm-up kit and the same coaches, and you feel like quite familiar in the environment. It's just like, oh, it's just a longer format of cricket. So I don't remember being nervous. What I do remember is getting off the field at the end of 50 overs and going, wow, I'm absolutely shattered here, because 50 over cricket, I find like it's just the hardest format in terms of the hardest physical format, just because it's so intense. It's like a T20 game, but it's 50 overs in the field. I'm bowling 10 overs, but I'm usually out at sweeper or long on or cow corner covering ground. So I get off the field after a one-day game and I'm pretty shattered because I've just been doing a lot of yardage. So that's one takeaway I found, is like, wow, got to be quite fit to do this. But yeah, not a lot changes for me in terms of mental preparation and strategizing. It's, bowl your best ball and bowl your bouncer when you think it's the right time to do it. And if someone's going after you, what's your plan? Is it Yorkers? Is it slow balls into the wickets? And make sure your field matches your ball. It's all sort of all of those things all the time.
And even in the T20s, or that series was in Harare, did it feel like familiar territories as opposed to, having to debut? If you had to debut in Bangladesh, it's a totally different, I guess, environment that you're not as used to as compared to back in Zimbabwe. So do you feel like that also helped, sort of knowing the ground or having played there previously?
Yeah, I think so. I do remember the crowds were really, really good that series, and Raza was on fire, and other guys were scoring runs, and it was kind of like it wasn't sort of death by fire walking into international cricket for the first time and getting your head blown off. And we won both the T20 and one day series, so I didn't think that international cricket was easy, but I had the feeling like, oh, we're just going to play and we're just going to win. And then, you play a bit more and you realize that that's not the case. And then you look back on those days with a bit of awe and jealousy, just be going, we had it quite good then. But yeah, no, I guess, I was quite young then and just sort of didn't really let the occasion get to me, and just sort of was enjoying the battle and just playing the game and not really worrying about not the outcome, but just sort of being a bit less fearless. And then you play a bit more cricket and then you start potentially worrying about the outcome and you lose that sort of fearless nature a little bit. So it's just sort of trying to keep track of all that sort of stuff.
And do you recall your first wicket and how did you feel?
T20 or one day?
I mean, both, but yeah, I think in that series as well would have taken both your debut wickets in both formats. So, do you recall them?
One day, I remember I got Mushfika out, Mamadullah out. Was it Mamadullah?
Might have been. I think I'm looking at the scorecard. You got Shanto out for a duck, and then you got Mushfiqur Rahim out for a duck. Do you recall that?
Shanto caught it by Wesley Modaveri.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my first wicket then.
Oh, okay, yeah. How did it feel? Do you recall the emotion? Yeah. And do you recall in T20s?
T20s. It would have been Namibia. I think I got a wicket. I think, yeah, I won't remember the player's name. I can hardly remember. I think it was like a caught behind. I don't remember who it was.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, like especially I guess in the series, like bowling to someone like Shanto and Mushfiqur Rahim. Mushfiqur Rahim still plays Test cricket for Bangladesh, and Shanto plays in basically in all formats. So I'm sure, like even for yourself, playing in that level, getting these players out would have done a good amount of confidence for yourself to be able to be like, I'm here to stay kind of thing. So how'd it feel for you?
Yeah, for sure. It's like, whoa, you get Mushfiqur Rahim out and you're like, I've seen this guy score double hundreds in Test cricket against, like, I don't know, big teams. And you're like, huh? How have I just got him out? So yeah, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm part of I'm part of it now. I'm here to play. I'm here to stay. And yeah, you sort of enjoy it, but also realize, and like I said earlier, try and take some belief out of it, and yeah, just go forward with that.
And when you're part of the Zimbabwe setup, and especially in your debut series, were there any other bowlers or anyone that you're sort of working with or helped you through that period? Because I'm sure, being a younger cricketer or being new to the setup, it would have been a bit daunting. So did you have anyone that you sort of stuck with or helped you through and gave you that confidence as well as you were, starting to make your debut?
I think when I made my debut against Namibia, Zimbabwe cricket was going through a bit of a weird time because we actually lost that series to Namibia. But my debut series, we lost 3-2 to 2-3, 3-2 to Namibia. And there wasn't any T20 cricket until Bangladesh later that year. And so I was in for that T20 series against Namibia, and then I was out of the fold for a while. And then coaches changed, and Dave Houghton came in, and Steve Kirby came in, and Lance Klusner came in for a bit. So yeah, that debut series sort of went by in a flash and a blur, but I've always been somebody who looks and just sort of watches how people do things. So I'd watch how Chitara would go about bowling, and he swings a new ball and try and say, oh, can I do that? And if it doesn't feel good or I can't do it, I'll try and take bits and pieces. And I think Donald Tirapano was playing in that debut series of mine. Luke Jongwe was playing. I'd take bits and pieces. Luke's slow balls were pretty good, so I'd sort of watch how he did it and ask him questions. So yeah, I mean, just sort of, like I said earlier, I sort of learn by just watching and then doing myself. And that's how I've always tried to be.
And in particular, in the Bangladesh series, it was quite a close series, and you'd won as well, especially in the third T20. Zimbabwe had won by 10 runs, so obviously would have been a close game, would have been a lot of nerves, and obviously with, debut sort of, your second series playing international cricket, that must have been quite a match for you to be a part of. So when you did get that win, how did it feel? And even towards the end, were the nerves kicking in? And how did you feel like you reacted under pressure? Your team, how did they? How do you feel they went under pressure? And how did it feel afterwards when you did get the win? Because that must have been, a huge amount of confidence for yourself and for the team to be able to get that win.
Yeah, it was quite funny because I think they needed 11 off the last ball or something like that. And I was at backward point and the number 11 slogged it up and game's over because it was a legal delivery, but it's gone to me at backward point, but it's got like a million miles in the air. And the whole crowd's gone, "Wah!" And then I dropped it. And the crowd for a split second thought we'd lost the game just because I dropped the catch. Obviously we'd won. So it was quite amusing. But yeah, I mean, once the crowd realized we won, it was jubilant scenes and a few beers in the changing room afterwards. And yeah, it was good. It was a nice feeling. It's good, good memories to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. And not too long after as well, you played India and Zimbabwe. So how did that feel like? And what was the preparation, the lead up to that series? Because that must have been a big series for the team, wanted to, India being such a big team as well. I'm sure that there was that mindset trying to go into being like, let's, try to defeat the top dogs of world cricket. So what was that planning like? What was the strategy like as a bowler as well to certain batsmen? And yeah, how did you go about that? Because there were some close games in that series as well.
Yeah, they were. It was a decent series for me personally. I didn't do anything different in terms of preparation. I always just try and bowl my best ball, and that's usually hitting the top off. And yeah, you got slightly different plans for different players. But it just took us a while to get into that series. We played our best game in the last game, and we only lost by 13 runs, and we definitely could have won that. And it was just frustrating because we just sort of let the first game go, and then sort of had a decent second game, and then played our best in the third. And I think that series definitely could have been different if we'd. I think we just sort of got a little bit stunned the team got a bit stunned by the whole occasion because it was India and the crowds are huge and the whole ground had a facelift. I mean, Shikhar Dhawan had his face on some adverts around the ground. I'm like, what? He's playing for India, not Zimbabwe, and he's got his name on the billboards. Yeah, it's just quite strange. So yeah, I think we got taken a bit by surprise by how big it was. I certainly was taken because that was definitely the sort of biggest stage I'd played on up until then. But yeah, it was a great thing to be a part of, and watching Shubman Gill get his first international 100, and it was against us, was quite special because it was a quality knock. And it was a great experience. And hopefully if we play them again, hopefully we can do one better.
And in the third ODI, you'd also taken a fifer and dismissed the likes of KL Rahul and Shubman Gill as well. So how did that feel, getting that fifer? It would have been a first fifer, if I'm not mistaken, against a team like India as well. And to do it in your home country would have been something special as well. So what did you feel you did right that day? And what sort of plans did you have to these kind of quality batsmen in order to dismiss them?
I remember that day just feeling in a great rhythm and just like the ball was just coming out and going where I wanted it to go. And sort of every ball I bowled just sort of landed where I wanted it to. And, I mean, I took 5, but I went for 54. So I've nearly gone at 6s in 10 overs in a one-day game. So, it's that decent figures, but it just shows how good those guys are. You can feel as good as I did that day and still go at 6s. So that's one sort of thing I take from that. But yeah, obviously taking a fifer against India is a special feeling, and would have been nice if we could have won that game. I ended up it was close. I was batting with Raza when he got his 100, and I ended up getting, I think, 28 that game. And I just remember playing not a great shot. And I got out and we'd met in the middle and discussed sort of how we go about it. And we decided that I needed to sort of take him on a little bit and got out. So I was a little bit upset because if I'd seen that towards the end or to the end, we probably could have got over the line. So yeah, take 5 against India, but lose doesn't feel as good as taking 5 against India and winning.
I think especially for yourself, because that game India won by 13 runs, so it's very narrow loss there, and you had 3 balls to spare as well, so you never know what could happen. And so for yourself, because you obviously are chasing second innings, you felt like you could have won the game for the team. So that, I guess, that feeling doesn't really allow you to enjoy the fifer that you might have had in the first innings in that sense as well. So when in that situation, how did you feel after the dressing room? What was the sort of chat when it comes to having such a narrow loss against such a quality team like India?
Yeah, Dave Houghton was the coach at the time, and he was always really good for just sort of just keeping things simple. He'd often say, guys, we've only just lost a cricket game. It's not the end of the world. So he'd try to get everybody's spirits back up. But a lot of guys naturally were just a bit disappointed. I think it's hard not to be disappointed especially when you play, a one-day game. It's a lot of energy spent on the field, and you're diving around, and everyone's come off with cuts and bruises on their elbows and worn a few to the body when they're batting and stuff. And then to lose is like, was it even worth it? But those feelings do subside pretty quickly. But I think it's only natural for an athlete to feel quite despondent after they lose a game, especially when they've put their body on the line. So yeah, I mean, like I said, Dave was quite good at just trying to bring people back down and guys, don't worry, it's only a game of cricket, we've lost. And he would never really reprimand us or wag the finger at us, only if we'd really messed around against a team we should have beaten or had a bad game. But when we had a good game, it was fine. It was not the end of the world. So in that particular game, it was light chat in the changing room afterwards, but not too long, and took a lot of positives.
Yeah, it's amazing. And even after the game, did you get an opportunity to interact with the Indian cricketers? And was there anyone that you felt like you had taken some advice or learnings from during that series?
I think in one of the games there was a bit of a rain break, and I got to speak to Sikandar Raza, which was pretty cool. He was pretty forthcoming with advice and sort of compliments of my bowling. And then Shubman, I managed to get Shubman's shirt at the end of the third game, which I still keep. Still go. I got a nice collection of shirts, and that's one of them. So, yeah, but not a lot else, because it was such a quick tour. I think it was game day, day off, game day, day off, game day. And then the next morning we flew to Australia, literally the day after the last game. We were at the airport the next day, off to Oz.
Yeah, so I'll actually get into that series. I actually saw the photo you're referring to when it comes to Shubman Gill. I might actually quickly share my screen for the audience. Can you see my screen? It's this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and there's even a quote as well. How you're a fan of Shubman Gill. So it's amazing. Like you said, that was his debut series, and everyone knows the sort of player he is today. So it's been quite it must have been a journey, because you were there literally on his debut, and now you see him and how well he's doing, all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. Maybe sell it like 10 years down the line. Some big money.
I need a signature on it, because I think he was in the presser before me, and then I'd asked him I think in the second game if I could get a shirt, and he'd said yes. And so he was walking out the press room and I was walking in, and I said, can I have your shirt now? And he took it off and walked up into the changing room without a shirt on. It was dark by then. But that's the reason why I had the shirt in the press interview there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I might actually jump to that Australia series that you just mentioned. Me being an Australian, I followed that series as well. It was a very historic series, and yeah, I think there's a lot of conversations around how Australia when certain teams tour, like the sort of locations they play in versus maybe other locations. Like it'd be cool to sort of I was hoping like I would get to see, because I think it was more rural area that series had. It was in Townsville actually, so usually the games are played, you go to their CG or MCG, so hopefully one day you can that can happen, so that I can actually attend, or most of Australia can sort of attend in that sense. But anyway, so like in that series, like in the third, I think it was the third ODI, there was a historic win for Zimbabwe. So obviously Australia in kind of different conditions. I'm not sure if it was something that you were accustomed to, because maybe Zimbabwe wickets are a lot different to the Australian wickets, and you're still relatively new to international cricket at that point in time. So what was the preparation like in the lead up to that particular series in Australia, and did you feel like as a bowler, it did suit your sort of bowling style, or did you feel like you had to make adjustments? So what was the preparation like before that Australia series in Australia?
Um, yeah, that wicket in Townsville was definitely bowler friendly. And I would have loved to have seen what would have happened if we'd won the toss in the first two games, because in that series, whoever won the toss won the game, because Australia won the first two tosses, won the game, and we won the last toss and won the game. Um, so yeah, on that front, I'd like to have seen what would have happened. But yeah, I mean, you could just tell that it was an early season wicket that had been played. They'd probably had Aussie rules on there, or footy on there over the winter, and it wasn't quite a summer wicket yet. And I mean, I mean, probably bowling at like 128, 130 then, still do. And I was managing to hit Steve Smith on the gloves and sort of get the ball flying past David Warner's, like this. And yeah, it was quite an unfriendly batting wicket that, and you could tell it just wasn't a typically Australian wicket. I think it was just a early season wicket. But hey, both teams had to play on it, and yeah, we managed to get a win at the end of the series. So I mean, that was a good tour, yeah.
And did you get an opportunity, because you're playing against likes of, you mentioned, like David Warner, Steve Smith, Stoinis, Mitch Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Mitch Stark, Hazel. So these are big names as well in international cricket. So did you get a chance to, spend time with them and get any learnings or advice?
Yeah, they were very good. After the last game, they invited us into their changing room, and we had a couple of beers with them in the changing room. And then, because Townsville's quite a small place, we were staying quite close to each other. And I think a couple of us went out to the bar or one of the restaurants there, and were having a few drinks, and the Aussies happened to be there, and they invited us over, and we had a few beers with them there and chatted, and I managed to sit next to Mitch Stark and got a few tips from him, which was pretty cool. And who else was there? I mean, they were all there, but I'm trying to remember who I sat next to. I think I sat next to Zampa as well. He was cradling his baby at the time, so that was pretty interesting. But yeah, no, they were great guys, and they looked after us nicely.
And you made a reference to that third ODI. Australia made 141 all out, and then Zimbabwe chased it down. So, what was the strategy and planning in the lead up to that game? What tweaks do you feel like you did as opposed to the first and second ODIs in order to help you to win that game as a team? And what were the emotions like after the game? Because that it was a very historic moment, and even within locally in Australia, it was sort of talked about around in the news. So a lot of people knew about it. So people are very. I think Australia in general, like when teams do defeat Australia, there's a bit of respect for that team as well. So yeah, walk us through that period there.
Yeah, it was definitely something that didn't feel real straight away, and it only kicked in a couple of weeks later, realizing what we'd done. But yeah, it was great. Like I said, great to be a part of. Things just sort of fell into place for us. Like I said, we won the toss, and Burley bowled an unbelievable spell. And we got a few lucky-ish wickets. Full tosses led to catching extra cover and you caught behinds and stuff like that. I had a juggling catch at cow corner. Australia got 140 and David Warner got 94, I believe, which was remarkable. And so yeah, I caught him at cow corner, but it was like a off the hand, on the shoulder, back into the hands. So things sort of just went our way. And yeah, managed to chase it down. I think I would have been batting 8 or 9, so we were 6 down or 7 down when I came in. So it was wasn't the easiest of run chases, or we didn't make it look very easy, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I was watching that live as well. So definitely memorable moment in that sense. And not too long after, actually, because that series was in August 2022. In October 2022, there was a T20 World Cup in Australia. So it must have been a quick turnaround between that series and the World Cup. And it was played in Australia as well. So I'm sure that playing in Townsville probably would have helped acclimatise to the conditions in Australia. So what was the preparation and planning like in the lead up to the World Cup? And do you feel like there was a lot of strategy talk when it comes to, obviously, the fixtures in advance? So there would have been a lot of strategy in terms of how you approach certain teams, the way you play and the way you bowl to certain batsmen as well.
I think with us, a lot of it was just because of the way the World Cup was structured that year. Obviously, there was like the qualifying rounds where we were based down in Hobart and we had to play against Ireland, Scotland, West Indies. So there were 2 groups of 4, and then the top 2 of each group would go through to the actual main event of the World Cup. So we were very focused on just qualifying, which meant we'd have to beat Ireland and Scotland, or Ireland and West Indies, or Scotland and West Indies. And yeah, we managed to beat Ireland and Scotland, and then we had a decent game against West Indies, but ended up losing. But I think once we qualified, it was like, right, let's just see what can happen now. Because it's like, we're in the main World Cup. We're here with the big teams. We're only going to be playing big teams from here on in. So it was more of a sort of unleashing of, yeah, let's just give it everything now. And yeah, had a decent game against Pakistan.
Yeah, so even between the Australia series and the World Cup, it was only like 2 months. Were you still in Australia that whole duration, or did you go back home and then come back again? Because, yeah.
No, we went back home, but it wasn't for long. It was probably like not even 6 weeks, because we obviously had to go back and play warm-up games and stuff. So we were there a good 2 weeks before the first game of the World Cup anyways. So it was quite crazy going to Australia twice in the space of 6 weeks. So yeah, we're back in Zim, and we had a little bit of time off, and then sort of prep started where we had training camps and etc. etc. Yeah.
And I might jump to that game you referring to against Pakistan. And it was an incredible game of that World Cup where Zimbabwe won by 1 run. So before I get into that game in particular, though, what was the preparation, the lead up to that game? What sort of strategy did you have in place? Because I know that you're talking about the qualifying rounds, and now you're in the main World Cup. It must have been like a relief off your shoulder, and it's kind of like you sort of play to your best because now you know that you have nothing to lose. Mindset would have probably helped as well. But what sort of strategies or ideas or plans did you have in place when you're bowling to such players such as Mohammad Rizwan, Babar Azam, Shan Masood, etc.?
I think, well, firstly, that was my first game at the World Cup because I'd been on the bench down in Hobart for our first 4 games, just because we only went with 3-seamers, I believe. And so I was sort of the guy missing out. And then when we got to Perth, the stars aligned and we wanted to play 4-seamers and 4, I think I played in place of Chitara, which just because I think it's like more pace and a bit more bounce than him, so we wanted to exploit that. So we knew going to Perth, wicket's going to bounce and be a bit quicker. So obviously, we wanted to use that, use our height, myself, Richie, Blessing, sort of 3 quick, fast, tall bowlers, sort of hit the wicket bowlers as well. So yeah, it was planned around that. Sort of bowling hard, heavy lengths, and then using the dimensions of the ground as well. It's another big ground in Australia, huge square, just long boundaries everywhere. So just sort of bowl into the dimensions of the field. So that sort of was the planning for it. Yeah.
So was the plan then, in that sense, to pitch it up, or was it kind of to utilize the dimensions and bowl a bit shorter?
Yeah, you don't want to pitch it up to anyone in world cricket really. Yeah, it's more part of a length, back of a length. If we can get it swinging, then yeah, you can pitch it up. But if not, we hitting the strings and we challenging the stumps and challenging the defenses, making them having to hit us off a good ball.
And as well, you dismissed Babar Azam that game squaring up. So I guess what the strategy you're talking about now was also applied to someone like Babar Azam, who's also now actually playing in the Big Bash as well. So how did that feel like when you executed your plan and got someone like Babar Azam? Like, it must have done a world for your confidence as well.
Yeah, I think that one was just a good nut that sort of nipped away, and he tried to turn it into leg side and put a thick outside edge, and Burley did the rest at backward point. It wasn't a wonder ball. It was just me doing what I do best and hitting the strings on the ball and letting the wicket do the work for me. Yeah, it's just sort of, I think the whole game the stars aligned, so it was just another moment. Yeah.
And even in the halfway break, because in the first innings Zimbabwe batted, did you feel like as a team you'd kind of gone to your past score? Did you feel like were you a bit short, or like how did you feel in the halfway break? Because I'm sure that it's a World Cup, it would have been a lot of emotions, a lot of pressure, and how did you deal with that in the halfway break? And and that allowed you to kind of perform in the second innings.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we scored 135. So anytime you're under 150, I think in a T20 you're worrying about how much is on the board. But obviously the pressure of a World Cup game is sort of adds to it. And yeah, we were on the money from the get-go, and yeah, just we knew that we were short and we'd have to bowl unbelievably well, and we did, and we fielded well, and yeah, it was a good game of cricket.
Yeah, and after the game, like when it was getting very close, in the 19th over, like how was the team feeling? How were you feeling? Was it very nerve-wracking? Obviously you're seeing victory potentially in sights, and when you got that victory, how did it feel? How did the team celebrate after?
Yeah, I remember doing the maths. I think when Blessing bowled 18, and then I saw Craig Irvin, who's the captain, signal to Richie and Garaba that he was bowling the 19th, and then the maths added up and I was bowling the 20th. So I knew that I would, at some stage I was going to have the ball in my hand. And that it did give me a brief moment of, oh God, I've got a job to do. And I think what did they needed 11 off the last over, I believe. But Richie's last ball of the 19th over went for six. So they needed 17 off seven. And I thought at that stage, I was like, that's good. Like if this goes for one or two, it's fine. And then he tried to go straight Yorker, and it was a low full toss. And was it Iftikhar or what was it? Mohamed Nawaz, I think, hit it over for fine leg for six. And I was like, Richie, what are you doing to me? Like, why are you giving me more runs to defend you? But anyways, the rest is history, and 11 was enough, just.
And even for yourself bowling at that time, you must like what was your like tools you're using to stay focused because it's hard. It's obviously people be nervous naturally, a lot of pressure on your weight, trying to bring this victory for your country as well. So what was going through your mind and how did you feel like you put that aside when it comes to nerves and get the job done?
Um, to be honest, the only thing I remember thinking was I want to just get this done as quickly as possible. So I wasn't really thinking. I knew what ball I was going to bowl, and I'd get the ball and turn around and run. Like I didn't want to stand there thinking and doubting myself, and so I just wanted to just do it. Whatever was going to happen was going to happen, and I was going to commit 100%. And then obviously the first two balls went for seven, so they needed four or four. So it wasn't a great start, and then sort of just resorted back to that, hit the wicket back hard back of a length balls and dot wicket, and then the game was back on all of a suddenly. Yeah.
Yeah, so the first two balls, that's what I wanted to touch on as well, because the first ball went for 3 runs and the next one went for four. The equation would have been what, like four or something? Something like that. Like, I mean, I can only think, I don't particularly bowl nowadays, but I can remember when I used to bowl when I was a lot younger, I can only imagine, like, as a bowler, man, you're going 4 or 4, you're playing for your country. Like, I would have like given up at that point. So, what did you feel like you did right in that moment? I know you said that you changed the length, but what else did you feel like you did right in order to bring that, the game for Zimbabwe? Because the next third ball was a single, the fourth ball was a dot, and then the fifth ball was a wicket. So that's a huge turnaround from the first two balls.
Yeah. I also remember thinking like, I'm going to bowl this as fast as I can because like I've got absolutely nothing to lose and I need to do something. Yeah. So I did that ball that whipped through to Reggie Chikaba and he caught it like this. And Danny Morrison was on commentary and he said, that's a serious gear change. That is still my fastest ball I've ever bowled. I think it was like 144 or something like that. And that's just complete adrenaline running through. I don't think I'll ever touch that speed again. But on that wicket, sort of under lights, white ball, adrenaline, World Cup, they all the again stars aligned and it just sort of pinged through. And I just think I did him for pace, and that dot ball was crucial. And then I just went the same ball, next ball, and then he tried to get under it, but again it was the same sort of thing, quick hard back of a length, and he spliced it up to mid off. Um, Reverted back to default, and it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when it comes to, you said something really interesting, talking about adrenaline. I assume that it's not from a place of nervousness because it might be, maybe, I don't know, like maybe that nervousness challenge your adrenaline coupled with everything else you talked about when it comes to the lights and the occasion in the stadium, or was it sort of you also touched on something, you said that you need to do something now, you need to do something different. So I'm just trying to understand, where do you feel like that adrenaline was channeled from? Was it from a place of nervousness or a place of like, I've got no options now, just let it all out now, see what happens?
Yeah, it was like that fight or flight. My back was against the wall, so it was like I've got to give, everything. And that was where it came from. It's like I've got if I don't, I don't know, not if I don't do this, we lose. It was just just back against the wall, going for that final haymaker uppercut sort of thing, and yeah, it paid off.
And on the fifth ball, it was a wicket that you're referring to, and then on the last ball, it seems to be it was a run out as well, right? So essentially, that must have been like crazy scenes, crazy emotions. Like you're already on a high adrenaline, and then that sort of happens in the last two balls where you get two wickets. I think it might have been 2 runs to win in the last ball, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So yeah, tell us about that period when the run out happened, and the emotions as a team and as a player as well.
No, they needed three to win because if they had got two, it would have been a tie, I think.
Okay, yep,
Um,
yep.
so that one was like because it was a new batter, it was Shaheen. Um, yeah, we just agreed I'll try go Yorker. Well, I was going to go Yorker, and I didn't quite get it, so he sort of managed to squirt it away to long on, and Raza threw a perfect throw to Reggie, and Reggie dropped it, and felt like that ball dropped in slow motion for like 5 minutes whilst we were watching this ball fall out of Reggie's hand, and then he managed to pick it up and knock the stumps off, and he was run out still. So yeah, it was temporary. Paused the celebrations, and then he knocked the bails off, and then we went berserk. I don't remember what I did. I jumped, I screamed, I fell, rolled over. I got doggy piled on, the whole team on top of me at one stage, and yeah, it was just chaos.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like it just gives me goosebumps. Like, you talking about that situation. It must have been like incredible experience as well with the, crowd like Pakistani crowd watching that as well, at Perth as well. So incredible yeah, game honestly. And I was actually at the India Pakistan game at the MCG, and that's the most incredible game I've ever witnessed in my life as well. Because I've been to many cricket games, and so that game happened, and then the Pakistan and Zimbabwe game happens. Like it's crazy as just a spectator watching those two games unfold in that sense, and me being at the ground as well was also an incredible experience. So that must have done a world of confidence, even just from Zimbabwe's perspective, because you saw how close Pakistan went, played against India, and then here you are defeating Pakistan as well. So did that also give that extra confidence to be like, okay, we can take it far in this World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember who was first. Was it us against Pakistan or India against Pakistan?
It was India against Pakistan first. That was one of the first games, and then later on was Zimbabwe and Pakistan.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I think obviously beating Pakistan was it was yeah. I mean, I then look back at the rest of the World Cup with a little bit of regret because we'd done the hardest job that needed to be done was beat Pakistan, and now we had such a realistic chance, and then we ended up losing to Bangladesh by like 4 or 5 runs. And I think at that moment in time, we kind of knew it was over. So I think what happened, we'd drawn or shared the points against South Africa because it was rain affected. Then we'd beaten Pakistan. So I think at one stage we were top of the table. And there was Pakistan, India, South Africa, Netherlands, Bangladesh in one group, and we were top of that table after beating Pakistan. And then, like I said, we came close against Bangladesh, which, if we'd managed to get over the line there, then I genuinely think we would have made the semi-finals, because it would have meant that all we'd have to do is beat Netherlands. When I'd say that with respect, I think we could have got up for it, and they ended up beating us. But I think because we were so disappointed of having lost to Bangladesh and knowing that our chances of qualifying for the semis were over, we were a different team. But I think having a realistic chance to play in the semi-finals and having to beat Netherlands, I think it would have been a different game. I do believe that. Even though they went on and beat South Africa that World Cup, that World Cup was crazy. I mean, it was just us beating Pakistan, that close one, India versus Pakistan, Netherlands beating South Africa. Wasn't there another? I think didn't Namibia come close against Sri Lanka, or Namibia beat Sri Lanka or something like that?
I can't actually remember, but yeah, that was a crazy World Cup to be honest. There was so much like, especially when it was like it started off with India and Pakistan game. That was an incredible game. Because I was at the ground and I just remember like at one stage you're like, oh, Pakistan's going to easily win this game. So I was just, enjoying myself in the crowd, expecting Pakistan to win. And then Kohli plays that incredible innings. And I remember in the crowd as well, like there was this atmosphere that changed. Like, I don't know if as a player, like I'd be curious to get your thoughts about how influential, when it comes to particular crowds can have on the game itself, because we're at the MCG and most of the crowd is Indian fans, and there was this moment, like I could just feel it in the air where when Kohli and I think it was Hardik Pandya were having this little partnership happening, and then Kohli like hits maybe a few boundaries. You just see this whole change in atmosphere of the crowd. It just elevates like the spirit. And I'm sure that would have played into the player's confidence or into Kohli as well. That allows him to, hit that famous boundary over Haris Rauf's head for six as well, like a tennis shot back over his head. So like, me as being a spectator, like when you watch it on TV, you don't really experience that kind of stuff. But when you're at the game, you're just like, wow, like, crowds can have such an impact in that sense, I feel, because, it just gives that hope to the player potentially, or that kind of adrenaline rush because of that feeling of the crowd, and has an impact on the player. So I'm just curious, like how does crowds or like fan bases at the ground when they're really cheering or rooting for their team, how does that play into a player's mind and confidence when they're for example as a bowler yourself, how that plays into your confidence when running into bowl?
Yeah, I think any cricketer that says the crowd doesn't affect them is lying, because we're all human beings. Well, listen, everyone playing international cricket has the ability to hear and sort of feel the crowd's reaction. And so you're going to hear them cheer and groan and shout, and as a human being, it's only natural to let that, to absorb it and understand what's being said or how people are reacting. So it definitely influences you. I mean, it also gets you up for it a little bit more, because I play games where there's no crowd and you're like, wow, this is a bit weird. Well, then you play a game with quite a big crowd at the MCG or Perth. We had a huge crowd against India. That was ridiculous. We obviously didn't win, and I wasn't playing, but it was a ginormous crowd, and that's the biggest I've ever sort of seen in person. But it's impossible to not let it affect you, or not affect you. That's the wrong word, because you can choose, or you can have the ability to sort of not let it affect you, but it's impossible to block it out and ignore it. You have to sort of hear it, and you'll see it, for sure.
And it's interesting when you're playing India, or when you have maybe played against other big teams, and perhaps the opposition team has a bigger crowd as opposed to the Zimbabwe fans in the stadium as well. How do you process that? Because I'm sure that for many players it might make them more nervous or more pressure, because the opposition crowd is going crazy, and there's a lot more atmosphere and a lot more support for the opposition, so you might feel that pressure. Or maybe some people enjoy that and take it in and want to prove the fans wrong, or enjoy when for example, when you take a wicket and you just see the fans are silent or whatever, that might make you feel a certain way, make you feel better. So how do you process that from a player perspective?
Yeah, it is a bit strange. If you like this tour we just had to Pakistan now, and we played against Pakistan, and I got Babar Azam out, and the crowd literally just went silent. And like, it's quite weird where you can just hear yourself and your teammates shouting, and there's 10,000 people at the ground. So it's a bit weird, but it's it's um it's understandable because you know where you are. You're playing against Pakistan, and they're supporting Pakistan, and you get their well, one of their best players out, and they go quiet, and they don't like you very much. So yeah, it's understandable.
I'm sure they like you. They just, I guess, want their favorite players to do well. But I'm sure they have a lot of respect for you as a player in that sense as well. So no hard feelings. But I wanted to also touch on, because you mentioned previously the game against Bangladesh in the World Cup. And because on my background, I'm Bangladeshi, but Australian, so I follow all the Bangladesh games. So that was an incredible game. I watched it live. My friends actually almost considered flying out to watch that game because I'm based in Melbourne, but the game was in Brisbane, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. Probably one of the biggest regrets of my life, to be honest, because it's such a good game. But I had friends, at the ground. They were sending me live footage on like WhatsApp as the game's unfolding. So yeah, like what was the planning like in the lead up to that game? What did you strategize? Because it's a different pitch as opposed to maybe when he played at Perth against Pakistan. So what sort of adjustments did you feel like you had to do on that day? What sort of places did you have to bowl in comparison to the line and lengths you bowled in Perth? And yeah, like, because at the end of the game, that was incredible. Like how, the game was kind of told, like everyone was walking off the field as if it was wrapped up and then you had to be called back. That was like incredible scenes. So yeah, walk us through that game and the emotions there and yeah, the strategy before the game as well.
Yeah, like listen, quite a hard game to look back on. I didn't bowl very well, and I dropped a catch off. I think it was Shanto off Raza's bowling at Cow Corner. And, you can always pinpoint a catch and say that was the moment that lost us the game, but you never know. But anyways, we ended up getting close. I think it was a 4 or 5 run victory for Bangladesh. But yeah, obviously that the drama at the end was unbelievable. I mean, the no ball, the keeper's gloves going in front of the stump. Blessing was in changing rooms unpadding, and I don't know if it was me, but I remember like looking at Blessing going, "You got to go back out there. Like then you're not out. This was no ball." And it's just so hard to believe. Like a spinner was bowling the 20th over, and Blessing can strike a ball, and he missed the first one. If he could have nicked it, he could have got a bottom edge. Burley was at the other end. We get a single, a 2 or a 3, and then it's a no ball. Like, oh my word. It just could have been different. I mean, shame. I felt so sorry for him because he ended up missing the free hit as well. So it was, yeah, it was a tough way to go. I remember I got hit. I got caught at Cow Corner. I think it was in the last over as well. I think it was the first ball of the last over. But Burley and I met in the middle, and he said, "Mate, just hit it. Just hit it as far as you can." And those boundaries are just stupidly big. Like the Gabba, the MCG, and Perth, they're just, the boundaries are ridiculous. I mean, I honestly think that when I got out, because I got caught on the boundary, almost any other ground in the world it's 6. But because the boundaries are so big there, it was out. So yeah. Anyways, it was a tough one to lose. After the high of beating Pakistan as well.
With the ground size as well, even as a bowling or a bowling unit, what sort of plans did you have in regards to that? Was it what you referred to before was like bowling short of a length to, if they do happen to pull a shorter ball, for example, because the boundaries are so big, there's more of a chance of getting a wicket?
Yeah, listen, I think until a batsman starts going after you and clearly targeting you and clearly is on top of you, you don't change a lot. You try and stay with your best ball for as long as possible. Obviously, you don't want to become predictable, so you do need to bowl a bouncer, or you do need to bowl a slow ball into the surface to sort of make sure the batsman's on his keep the batsman on his toes. But more often than not, you're trying to bowl a stock ball, because a stock ball, a top of off ball, is hard to hit in any format of the game. It's when you go too full, you miss short. That's what gets hit. And then the length that you bowl on different wickets just varies depending on how much the ball is going to bounce. So like in Pakistan recently, we got to be, we can afford to be shorter than too full because the ball isn't bouncing as much. But at Harare Sports Club, because the ball kisses off the wicket, there's a bit more grass in it, it's good carry. If you bowl that length, it's going to sort of sit up and the batsman can sort of get on top of the bounce and hit it. So you need to be slightly fuller to hit the stumps. So yeah, it's just about working out what length is my length that's going to hit top of off or the top of the stumps. And that's sort of the length that you go with. And it varies a little bit on each wicket you play on.
Yeah, definitely. And I might actually, I know you've been so generous with your time. I might wrap up with one series and a little game at the end, like your recent series, the tri-series versus Pakistan and Sri Lanka, which was, closely followed by many cricket fans around the world. So what was the planning like in relation to that, in that series? Because obviously, like we're talking about now, dimensions or conditions and the way you have to adjust accordingly. I'm sure obviously you would have to do that adjustment in Pakistan wicket. So what was that like? And what sort of knowledge did you go in with before that series where you sort of had bowling plans and ideas of how, in what ways you had to adjust as your bowling and plans on those wickets?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have obviously Sikandar Raza as our captain. So he imparts quite a lot of knowledge through his experience, through having played a lot of cricket in Pakistan and in the PSL and other cricket. And he has played a lot of cricket against the Pakistanis and the Sri Lankans. So we get a lot of knowledge from him. But the first game against Pakistan, we batted first, but we wanted to bowl first. Yeah, we batted first. And got to the second innings and the ball started swinging a little bit and nipping off the surface. And Pakistan made quite hard work of a 140 total or something like that. And we knew we were under par. We should have scored a few more. And then we made a few mistakes in the field, and that definitely was a game we should have won. But then the next game was against Sri Lanka. And again, we wanted to bowl first, but we lost the toss and we ended up batting first. And now what did we do? We didn't. We bowled them out, didn't we? Anyways, the point I'm trying to get at is we thought the wicket was going to be sort of flat. It was going to be run fest. It's going to be 200 plus totals. And it wasn't. The highest score of the tournament was a 190, I think, by Pakistan. And so it was quite interesting having to adapt to what we thought it was going to be, from what we thought it was going to be to what it was going to be, and sort of work out why it wasn't. The pitches were quite slow, were quite tired. Looked like they'd had a lot of cricket on there, and they did, because there was a one-day series before we got there with Sri Lanka and Pakistan. And obviously it was all based in one place. So all the games were played at one ground. So yeah, we had to adapt slightly and work on our variations and using the dimensions of the field and understanding that it was going to be cold and dewy. All those things come into your planning.
And as well as, those wickets being tied, naturally being, playing T20s, there's a lot of, sure, variations that you needed as a bowler to put batsmen off and not be too predictable. So when and how do you plan to use those slow balls? Is it something that is almost like premeditated before the game, or is it, depending on what phase of the game it is, or is it something that you instinctually use as the game is unfolding and kind of reading the game and match situation? So when it comes to variation, how do you use it and how do you plan that accordingly?
Yeah, you just said there. I think the perfect word is instinct. It's I think cricket is it's a game of cat and mouse. The batter's trying to get one over the bowler's trying to get one over the batter. Generally, for example, I bowl two good balls and the batter defends, where he plays and misses at one and then defends the other one. There's a high chance in T20 cricket that the next ball he's going to be going after because he just can't face three dot balls in a row. That's the way the T20 works nowadays. So if that sort of thing happens, I've now got to be ready to expect the batsman's probably going to try and play a shot. Whether I try and stick to my stock ball and back it, and that my good ball is going to be good enough, and that he's got to hit my good ball, or get a feeling for he might use his feet, he might go deep in his crease. So I've got to go, well, is a change of pace a good idea here? Is he someone that is susceptible on the short ball? Because we'll do our research before we get given the footage and analysis and the statistics on batters. And okay, this guy's vulnerable on the short ball, so I think I'm going to go to the short ball. Or no, if this guy pulls, he will hit you for six if you bowl a short ball at 130 k's an hour. So we're not going to go there. We're going to go slow ball into the wicket. So it's instinctual, but it's also it's backed up with your homework. We get sent these statistics for a reason, and we get videos and analysis nowadays. So every decision that we make, well, I'd like to think every decision that we make is informed. It's not just a thumb suck and just guessing.
Yeah, incredible insights there as well. And even in one of the games, against Pakistan, you dismissed Babar Azam again, and also Saibzada Farhan is a emerging talent from Pakistan. So I don't know many people can say they dismissed Babar Azam twice in international cricket. So and that was a incredible performance that match as well. So what do you feel like your plans were to him? Because I think you got him LBW that game as well. So yeah, what was the planning like at that particular stage?
Oh, mate, I think I'm going to be a boring answer here. It's just bowling my best ball. I'm hitting the top of off until I need to change it. I'm a bowler that I sort of get tight to the stumps. I bowl wicket to wicket. I don't have a huge amount of pace, but I get nibble off the surface. I can swing it both ways. So I just get a feeling, we often get told that in this game there's nickers and kickers. So you either get someone who nicks the ball or they get out LBW. So depending on how they get out is how you sort of try and set them up. So the guy's an LBW candidate, you go away more often and then try and bring one back. But if someone who's vulnerable getting caught behind, you'll target his pads first and then try and surprise him by going away. I mean, generally speaking, in white ball cricket, you don't have the luxury of being able to swing the ball so much. So you're relying on the seam, and the seam movement's not something you can control. It sort of goes at its own will. So it's a batter's game, white ball cricket, T20 cricket. So anything that you can try and get to work in your favour, you'll use. So yeah, it's doing your research, knowing who you're bowling at, knowing the conditions, knowing your strengths, state of the game. If you feel like, you got Pakistan 2 down in the power play, you can have a slip. You can try and buy another wicket. Or if they're 40 for no loss after 3, you're on the back foot, take the slip out, get a defensive field. You got to bowl more defensively. So a lot of it depends on the situation. So it's hard to. I mean, yes, you've got an idea of how you want to bowl to someone, but sport exists for a reason. We've got to go to the field and take in what's in front of us and play what's in front of us. You can't just go, right, in my first ball, second over, I'm going to bowl this. Like, you can't do that because could be bowling at a left hand, you could be bowling at a right hand, you could be bowling at Zaman, you could be bowling at, it's hard to pre-plan that much, but you've got your plans that you've done your research on, and you know who you're bowling at, and you know the conditions. So it's a case of sort of taking it all in and computing that. And I think that's what the best players do well, is they take into consideration everything that's around them, and they make the best informed decision with what they know.
Yeah, definitely. Those are incredible insights and thoughts regarding, sticking to your plans and knowing your strengths as well and adjusting accordingly. And in that same series as well, Zimbabwe defeated Sri Lanka by 67 runs. So in the first innings, Zimbabwe had posted 162, which is mammoth total in T20s, going at 8 and over. And you had rolled Sri Lanka for 95, and you had got 3 wickets for 9 runs at an economy of 2.25 in a T20 going. I'm pretty sure that's probably your best figures as well. So yeah, walk us through what you feel you did right that game. I know that you talk about hitting a line and length, but going at an economy of 2.25 with 3 wickets, I'm sure that something else happening that day you feel like was clicking for you as well.
Yeah, so that my first point earlier about that tri series was how we thought it was going to be a road, and it was going to be flat, and it was going to be 200 scores par. First game, we batted first when we wanted to bowl, and the ball went around corners in the second innings. Same thing with Sri Lanka. We batted first, got 160, and the ball went around absolute corners in the second. I remember I was at mid-on, and Rajapaksa was batting, and he strolled over to Raza, who was at mid-off, and I overheard their conversation, and Banuka was like, Raza, what have you done to this wicket? Like, as a joke, because it was just absolutely pooping all over the place. That was one of those days where I let the ball go and it came out the right place, and the batsman was struggling. So I think we stumbled upon something after that game. Was like, no, we probably don't actually want to bowl first. We want to bat first and use the conditions later. And what you saw through that tournament was teams starting to win the toss and bat first, whereas they were in the beginning winning the toss and bowling first. Yeah.
And on top of that, I know that that day was your day, and there's some other days where things might not go your way. So then, that voice of doubt comes into a bowler's mind, I'm sure, in days where things don't go right. So how do you manage that voice of doubt in days where you don't feel like it's going right for you?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm very critical of myself. And if I have a bad day, I'll often ask myself whether I belong at this stage, or I'll question the need to be playing international cricket. And then you have a good day, and then you remind yourself that you're fine. So I guess one thing that's helped me in my journey recently, obviously I was out for a long time, but what's helped me recently and sort of become more consistent is the fact that international cricket is hard. You're playing against paid professionals all the time, and there's going to be days where they are good, and there's a chance that these guys are going to score some runs off your bowling, or they're going to get you out because they are good. A lot of the people we play against play in the IPL, play in the PSL, play in the BBL. These are good cricketers, and there's days where they're going to be good. And it's about going, that's fine, okay? And also, like I said right at the beginning, was having that belief in yourself, going, no, my best is also good enough. And not sort of playing the name that you're playing against. Just, it's a ball coming down and you got to hit it, or you're bowling at 3 wooden sticks in the ground. Just try and simplify as much as possible, and not let the occasion get to you, or you playing against get to you. It's well, yeah, you might hit me for 6, but I'm going to give you my best ball. And in my short sort of return back to the side from September, I've taken a lot of wickets, and I think that mentality has helped me a lot. And I've taken a lot of big wickets as well. Sri Lankans, Afghans, Pakistanis, and I just feel like it's really served me well. So it's something I'll keep in the back of my mind for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you've been so generous with your time. I just ask a few questions before we wrap up as well. And, you're sort of speaking to just having that belief in yourself and positivity. I think all cricketers, it doesn't matter what level one is at, like from what you've mentioned, like everyone sort of needs that confidence boost, and not everything's going to go right for every player, on every day, so it's about staying level and present, and believe in your skills, and yeah, as you said, like don't play the name but just play the ball essentially. So I think all of those are needed to kind of keep going when it comes to being cricketers. So in terms of, I guess, on good days as well, just to ask a few last questions, what's the most memorable wicket or best delivery you've bowled? I know you talked about Raza, but were there any other ones that ring sort of true to you, or sort of you recall as being your best ball?
One of the best ones I've got on camera is one of the Scottish players. They're playing a warm-up game in the qualifiers in 2023 when we hosted it, and we didn't qualify it was a 50 over qualifiers. But it was a warm-up game. I can't remember his name. He's the keeper. He uses grey nickels. Anyways, I've nipped one back through his gate, and the middle stump just went cartwheeling. So that was a very satisfying. I've got that somewhere on my phone. Yeah, that felt good. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Good deliveries. Yeah, I mean, I bowled a nice Yorker to, is it Wadera, the left-hander opening batter for Sri Lanka? He got on top of us in the series we hosted. Yeah, I think it was in the second game. It was in the power play, and I bowled like from around the wicket a big in-swinging Yorker, and he was smashing. I think he was like 25 off 10 or something, and bowled him. That was a pretty nice feeling. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bowled some nice balls.
Yeah, and in turn,
sorry, when I got 5 against India, I bowled a ball that nipped back and literally clipped the top of the bail against Deepak Hooda against India. And it literally clipped the bail, and the one bail just fell off. That was actually a really nice ball. Forgot about that.
that must have been satisfying. Like, yeah, we talk about the stumps cartwheeling, but the ones that just kind of kisses the bails and just slips off nicely must be also very satisfying.
Bail literally was in its groove. It came out like this and then just fell like only one.
Because it's almost like silent assassin, just like perfect. You didn't have to try too hard there, just kind of done just enough to get the job done. So yeah, I can imagine. And on top of that as well, like who's the best batsman you've seen? It could be even just a teammate, someone you've trained with, or someone you've bowled to, where you just saw them and the way that they carry themselves, or the energy that they bring to the crease, and you're just like, wow, okay, there's this is why this guy is so good.
I'll be honest, the most talented and the most sort of inferior I've ever felt as comparing myself as a batsman to them was Shai Hope in the 23 qualifiers. When we beat West Indies, I didn't play that game, but I fielded for 50 overs because Craig Irvin hurt himself. It was at sweeper, and the amount of cover drives he hit that I had to run to my right and left and stop and effortlessly hit this ball so hard mate, I've not seen a bloke carve a cricket ball around a field like that. He's unbelievably talented.
Yeah, it's been incredible last few years, and especially in ODI cricket, and especially in New Zealand recently. So very underrated, actually. But yeah, incredible stats, incredible player too. And I guess my last question would be, as a bowler, who it could be from your teammates as well, someone you played against, where you watch them bowl, and you're just like, wow, okay, yeah, like there's a lot to learn from him, or you took inspiration from him, or something that you incorporated from their bowling into your bowling.
Mm, Incorporated, I don't know. But I remember when we played India at the MCG and Ashdeep and Bhuvaneshwar had that ball on a string and our batters couldn't lay a bat on it. Like the same ball would swing that way and the next one would swing that way. Like speaking to Craig Irvin, who played in this at a few, he was like, it was unbelievable. The control and the seam position that those guys had to like just to not give any signs away and swing one ball, but not just swing it, like swing it this much and one way and the other one without giving any signs. So I guess that was pretty incredible to watch. I was watching from the sidelines going, why can't we hit this ball? Like, and then watching it on the TV later, you're like, oh wow, it's swinging a lot.
Yeah, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, like experienced campaigner, and just because he's toured Australia quite a bit now, so I've seen him, as I was watching him on the ground, and yeah, just ball on a string, underrated as well. So I know I asked you a lot of questions and took a lot of time, so I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your insights about the game and also your experiences. It was incredible, and just getting your experiences and thoughts on your career and the stuff that you've achieved. It's been a great honor. So thank you so much for your time. I don't know if you had any sort of final thoughts you wanted to share before we wrap up the show.
No, you're welcome, mate. Thanks for the invite. I think what you do is really cool. I think a lot of people are fascinated by what goes on in a professional cricketer's brain when they're in the heat of the moment, or how they train, or all those sorts of things. And I guess a final point for me would be like, especially, I was a club cricketer in the UK, and then I was a sort of a uni cricketer, and I came from that to then, playing international cricket. I'm not saying I'm a great international player, but it's like there's not a lot different between the guys I played uni cricket with and the guys I play international cricket against. Like all these guys have the same hand-eye coordination. All these guys, can catch a cricket ball, can bowl a ball, can hit a ball. Um, it's very little to do with the physical ability once you get past a certain level. Yes, you got to have natural ability to be able to hit the ball hard and run hard and bowl fast and spin the ball and whatever. But it comes down to sort of how badly you want it, how you train, how you eat, how you gym and how you think about the game on the field. So I guess like a source of motivation for people that might watch your show is like it's not so much about the physical capability of you, it's sort of everything else that really matters to get yourself to the next level above, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's incredible thoughts, because a lot of people, obviously, I even for myself, like I occasionally watch or go to the domestic matches and stuff like that, and you can see the players, and you're just like, yeah, like you see all these like great players, and you're just like, yeah, he can play international cricket, I'm sure, like, or like, other players, or even first graders or great cricketers, you're just like, yeah, like you can tell, like he's got something different or stuff like that. So yeah, like just because I guess a player is playing isn't playing international cricket, that doesn't mean like they don't have the attributes to be able to play international cricket either. It just comes down to obviously what you just mentioned as well, like all the other stuff that goes into it and how badly you want it and all that. I've also interviewed players that like maybe move to other countries and settle there, and because they know that they can play. It just depends on location too. So I guess there's all those kind of pathways, but on top of that, obviously the training, the mindset, strategy, how badly you want it, and everything else, all plays into it. So I guess a lot of it as well, like what you touched on, is self-belief. Like as long as you believe you've got what it takes, and yeah, just go for it, I guess. So I think like all the experiences that you have, like you talked about your journey, I'm sure it's going to inspire all our listeners, because it allows them to, because for myself, like because I'm just I just play park grade cricket, but we want to also listen to the ones that have done it and are doing against good players and other great players, and sort of take their learnings as well and apply it to their own game. So I guess that's the kind of intention for the podcast as well. So I appreciate your time on the show as well, so thank you so much, and I'll probably wrap it up there. So for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. So if you wanted to check us out, we're on Instagram, we're also on TikTok, we're on YouTube as well. Instagram and TikTok, we do a lot of clips as well, so make sure to support and share us and like our content. And you can check us out also on Spotify and Apple iTunes, and YouTube on video form as well. So for our special guest Brad Evans, we wish you all the best. This is Tandem sign off. Thank you very much.